What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 12 of the Daily Entrepreneur. I'm James, here with Jack and Josh, and we got some cool stories, a really fun episode for you guys today. So without further ado, Josh, get us started.
A New Jersey deli is being investigated for committing over $100 million worth of stock fraud, and this comes after their reported annual income and revenue is only about $40,000 a year. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
It's pretty damn bizarre. I mean, there's apparently under a parent company called Hometown International, and this is where this company acts as a over-the-counter marketplace for small business, and pretty much their only real sole asset was this random New Jersey deli that makes about $40,000 a year. And so they were pretty much just hyping up this over-the-counter marketplace for small businesses, really overvaluing a lot of the companies that they were putting under it, but really all they had was this small business, the deli.
Yeah, and I mean, the crazy thing about this is that I feel like we always joke around about how you see dry cleaners or small pop-up shops, restaurants, and you always make the joke about how there's no way that they're still in business. You drive by and there's no one there. You're always assuming that, they're
Long John Silver's.
Long
John Silver's.
Jack Brown's dry cleaners. There's like 8 of them in the area, but it's aside from the point.
All right,
but
just keep in mind, if there's a mattress store, if there are 3 mattress stores within a mile radius of your neighborhood, one of them's got to be laundering money.
Yeah. And exactly, this is kind of exactly what this reminds me of. But, it's kind of crazy to just see how, you have a little piece of estate, in this case, the sandwich shop, and there's this mastermind kind of like plan going on to, commit this fraud with, millions of dollars. And so it's kind of crazy I'm just really curious on kind of how that investigation process went down and how they were able to track and find that what was going on was happening. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting if you just look at the age of the members. They're, grown men, one of them being, I think, 80 years old as well. And I'm just like, what's the point?
Right.
Like, why? So I just don't get it.
One of them lives in Hong Kong, too.
Yeah.
He hasn't even been caught yet.
The youngest one's, like 53 or something like that?
No, I think...
40s?
Yeah.
53, 60, and 80, some crazy thing like that.
Just absolutely bizarre.
Yeah. So that brings us into our next story, in which the former United States Secretary of Treasury, Larry Summers, came out and said that the world, and America in particular, would be a better place if there were more billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg. And, his reasoning kind of behind this is that not only are the major entrepreneurial economy that these people thrive in, are they mega job creators, but he just thinks in general for innovation. And he also has proposed that they should be, paying more in taxes along with it. And his kind of goal with it would be to generate more billionaires like that, but to have it to where they can't pass down that multi-generational wealth to their great-grandchildren. So very interesting kind of thoughts from Larry Summers. And what are your guys' kind of thoughts on that? Do you think America would be a better place with more billionaires?
Obviously, I think that there is a looming issue with a lot of people in the American public about they don't like that there's this huge wealth gap between all the billionaires and the rest of society. The thing is, where a lot of times that they don't bring up in their argument, though, is the amount of jobs that these billionaires create and the innovation that comes behind their entrepreneurial ventures. A lot of times people like to talk about Bezos when they've actually bought a product on Amazon. You've used his innovation, but yet you don't like the amount of money that he's earned through that. And so I think it's kind of that debate between, it's like, do we want to incentivize people to go out and do innovation like that and create all those jobs? Or do we want to take that away and make sure, basically, we want to make sure that we keep innovation going, jobs being prevalent, but people are still skeptical of how much these people make. There's got to be some balance between what is the risk to reward for how much you're going to earn and make in order to take on a venture, to be able to make a ton of money, but you're taking on all the risks to be able to provide all these jobs as well as the innovation for society.
Yeah, I'm always a firm believer in that you get paid in proportion to the value that you bring and really the problems that you solve. So clearly, I mean, these billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, they are pretty much the centers of innovation and technology. There shouldn't be necessarily a benchmark of like, hey, you can't pass on this amount of money, or there's like a threshold on you can't earn more than this. But I do agree that they should probably get taxed more, and just for the fact of like they literally have an overabundance of money.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of add this. I thought it was very interesting, that in the article that Larry Summers says that kind of one of the things that he recommends is kind of extending the reach and the authority of, I guess, the IRS. And it's estimated that over the next decade, about $7.5 trillion, which is 15% of federal tax revenue, is expected to go uncollected over the next decade. So kind of crazy how, that is supposed to work out. But the one thing I'll note about guys like Musk, Bezos, Gates, all these people, they give millions and millions of dollars away to not only help support other entrepreneurs, but to more philanthropic causes, whether it's for, homelessness, poverty, hunger, the environment, whatever it may be. If you really look and see where these people put their money, not only have they created thousands of jobs for people, enhanced and furthered the development of technology in various industries, but they've really done a lot for society in a lot of ways. And are they perfect people? No. But at the same time, I just thought it was a really interesting article, especially kind of how he thought, how he would kind of break it to where they wouldn't be able to pass their money down to future generations, which I can't say I agree with, though, because it's like if you build that empire and you earn that money, isn't that kind of what we're working for, to set up not only our kids but our grandkids and for our generations to come? You're building that legacy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think that they should still be allowed to pass down the money, but I definitely think there just needs to be a significant tax on, on certain thresholds. There needs to be thresholds, just like how there's taxes on, your income level. I think there should probably be taxes on the amount of money that you're able to pass down as well.
Well, I like what you said earlier about you are paid in proportion to the difficulty of problems that you solve. I would also add on there the amount of people that you impact, whether that be the jobs you create, but then also the customers that you attract and make their lives better through your innovation. Absolutely. I bring up Bezos again, the amount of people that are able to work for Amazon. Nowadays, people get their packages so much faster. They're able to buy things with, 3 clicks of a button like we saw the other day. And so pretty much, people don't want more billionaires because of the wealth gap, but at the same time, they impact the most people and they solve the world's most difficult problems. Entrepreneurs are fleeing their home state to go to states like Florida and Texas. The main reason for this is because of high taxes in the states that they're leaving. What are y'all's thoughts on this?
Yeah, no surprise, really. When you have a guy like Elon Musk who leaves his home state of California to move to Texas, and in 1 year he saved, I think, like 7 or 13 billion, something like that. And that's because you got states like New York and California with these insanely high income taxes and just the cost of living in general. I think there was a study done a while ago that if you make $100,000 in California versus in Texas, you end up saving about 10 or 15,000 more of that when you live in a state like Texas, just because of the cost of living being significantly cheaper on rent, groceries, gas, everything just in general all around. It compounds so much more when you're in a state like California. So it definitely makes sense. And just in general, you've seen a lot of companies, tons of jobs and opportunities opening up in states like Texas and Florida. So, it makes sense kind of why so many are wanting to come here and open up businesses.
Patrick Bet-David said it best. The U-Haul CEO said that the California governor was their number one salesman. And the reason that is because all the business owners and everyone in there, they start to question, is it really worth it for me to live here if I'm going to lose, a quarter of my wealth just by living here? Like, is it that good? And what the sad part is, especially when you look at the states and just the local communities, is that when you have these high-income individuals or, even just the general population in general, when people start to move in droves to these other states, is that they're losing their business, they're losing tax dollars, they're losing all that funding for startups, because a lot of people and entrepreneurs, they fund and invest in companies that are local to them because they're close by, and if they're moving away, that company's going to another state.
Yeah, I was going to say, to add to that list, they're losing the job creation as well. They're losing those jobs for people in that state pretty much, and especially if those jobs are moving with the company to that new state. It's crazy to think about. California has 13.3% state income tax rate, whereas Texas has 0. And that's the difference in between that $10,000 to $15,000 that you make just by living in Texas. it was said that pretty much 3% of families, Americans, move out of their home state every single year. What you're seeing, though, is when you rank all the states based off the amount that they tax, how much you're going to be taxed living in that state, the bottom 25 saw 20 of them increase in population in 2020.
I think a perfect example of how this income and really the taxes are affecting people moving from state to state is if you look at Florida, for every high income earning household over 200,000, they are gaining 2 for every one that they lose, and a state like California is losing 2 for every one that they gain. So it just shows you that, hey, people are making the transition from these high tax states to these states that have great tax benefits just because it just makes sense.
Yeah, and just in general, I mean, these, like you said, the high tax states, they're not pro-business. They're states like California, New York, there's so many regulations on businesses, and that's why people are really choosing to go to those pro-business states like Texas, like Florida, and again, start their business endeavors and just kind of like grow and prosper. And that's why you look at a city like Austin, where there's a massive entrepreneur culture and startups are thriving, and it's really a hub for that kind of innovation down here. And that's why so many people are kind of making the transition to, these types of states.
And it just makes sense. If you're an entrepreneur running a business, you want to feel that your business is in the location that it's going to be felt most welcome. Whereas if you're in a state like California, New York, you could be trying to get some project done or pretty much just some advancement in your business, and you might have something with the state that is pushing back on you just because they're not pro-business. They don't want to see that advance. And so obviously it makes sense for them to move out. What do you guys think that states like California and New York could potentially do to really, and maybe it's just lower taxes, but is there anything else that they could do to just try to keep these businesses from leaving and going to these other states? Because if this trend keeps up for the next 5 years, you're going to see so many different trends in the markets. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to, again, you're going to have to, cut regulations, reduce excess taxes on production, on shipping, all those things that, again, make it more where a business can go and open up and they can lower the cost of them to operate successfully. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still think, states, again, we'll take California, for example, would be a great place to open up a business. It's got to make sense economically. And if it doesn't, and you're not at a certain point in your business yet, you're just going to go there and get crushed. We've seen it happen over and over again. To whether you're an entertainer, a musician, a business owner, it doesn't matter. It's like you're going to go out there and get crushed because of the cost of living is so high. So I think, unfortunately, it's too late for that, and they're only increasing taxes in states like that. So it's just, there's a lot that they'd have to do.
I totally agree. I think it really just comes down to you have to change your policies and you have to change your taxes, because I just think it's unfortunate. You look at a place like LA, for example, great place to collaborate with other people that are like-minded, but it just doesn't, I feel like it just doesn't make sense anymore when you can go to a city like Austin and pretty much get the same thing with better benefits and better regulations.
Thank you guys so much for watching The Daily Entrepreneur. We're going to be back tomorrow with another episode. I'm Jack, this is James and Josh with the School of Hard Knocks. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a like and make sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. See you guys in the next one.